My parents threw me away when I got pregnant. 6 years later they showed up demanding to be grandparents and went to extreme lengths when I set boundaries. Growing up in my house was all about following rules. My 25F parents controlled everything: what I wore, who I talked to, and even what I read. My dad was stricter than my mom, but both made sure I always did what they wanted. I was always the quiet one in class, never spoke up much, and mostly kept to myself. The only rule I ever broke was sneaking in books my parents thought were inappropriate, just regular novels that everyone else was allowed to read. That was literally the only time I went against what my parents said until I was 19. I met Nathan when I was 18 during my first semester of college. He was in his second year studying business. We started dating after meeting at a campus event. My parents didn't like that I was dating, but they reluctantly accepted it as long as I maintained my grades and followed their other rules. Nathan and I became serious pretty quickly. He was the first person who actually listened to what I had to say. 6 months into our relationship, I missed my period. Even though we used protection most of the time, we slipped up a few times. When the pregnancy test came back positive, I sat on the bathroom floor for what felt like hours. I was terrified. A baby at 19 wasn't part of my plan, especially not when I was still living under my parents' roof and completely dependent on them for college tuition and everything else. I told Nathan first. We met at a coffee shop near campus, and I handed him the pregnancy test wrapped in tissue paper. After staring at it for a long minute, he asked what I wanted to do. I honestly didn't know. Getting rid of the pregnancy crossed my mind because I knew what my parents' reaction would be, but I couldn't bring myself to say it out loud. Nathan said whatever I decided, he would support me. Then he did something I wasn't expecting. He took my hand and asked me to marry him. Not exactly a romantic proposal, but I knew he meant it. Telling my parents was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I waited until Sunday dinner when my older brother Eric was also there. I figured having more people present might make my parents react less severely. I was wrong. When I told them I was pregnant, my mom dropped her fork on her plate, making a loud clanging noise. My dad's face turned a shade of red I'd never seen before. Eric just sat there, staring at me like I'd committed a crime. I quickly added that Nathan had asked me to marry him and that we planned to keep the baby. That's when everything completely fell apart. My dad slammed his hand on the table so hard the dishes rattled. My mom started crying. Eric called me stupid. Then my dad stood up and delivered the ultimatum: either I fixed this mistake or I was no longer welcome in their home. My mom nodded in agreement between her sobs. I told them I couldn't terminate the pregnancy, it wasn't something I could do. My dad told me I had until morning to reconsider or I needed to pack my things and leave. That night, I called Nathan in tears. His response was immediate: he and his parents would come get me tomorrow. I packed everything I could fit into 2 suitcases and a backpack. When I came downstairs the next morning, my parents and Eric were at the breakfast table. Nobody spoke to me or even looked at me. I said I was keeping the baby and that Nathan was coming to get me. My dad simply pointed to the door. Nathan and his parents arrived an hour later. As I put my bags in their car, I looked back at the house hoping someone would come out to say goodbye or at least acknowledge me leaving. Nobody did. The door remained firmly shut. The first few months were incredibly difficult. I had to drop out of college since managing classes while dealing with morning sickness and the emotional fallout of being disowned was too much. Nathan's parents let us stay with them until we could figure things out. They converted their home office into a bedroom for us and helped us plan for the baby. Nathan continued his studies while working part-time, and I got a job at a local bookstore that was flexible with my pregnancy needs. Nathan's mother, Diane, took me shopping for maternity clothes and went with me to my appointments when Nathan couldn't make it. His father, Robert, built a crib for the baby and fixed up an old rocking chair he found at a yard sale. I was grateful for their support, but every time Diane helped me with something, I thought about how my own mom should have been there. My mom's sisters, my aunts Jenny and Kate, reached out after finding out what happened. They disagreed with my parents' decision but couldn't convince them to change their minds. They sent baby clothes and offered emotional support through phone calls and occasional visits. Some of my cousins also stayed in touch, sending messages on social media and checking in regularly. Despite all this support, the absence of my parents was a constant ache. I sent them a Christmas card with a picture of me and my growing baby bump. No response. I sent them an invitation to our small wedding ceremony when I was 6 months pregnant. The invitation came back marked returned to sender. I sent birth announcements when Lily was born. Nothing. Nathan and I got married at the courthouse with his parents as our witnesses when I was 6 months pregnant. It wasn't the wedding I had dreamed about as a little girl, but it was perfect in its own way. Nathan had gotten a better job by then, working for his uncle's construction company with good benefits and steady pay. Lily was born when I was still 19. The delivery was long and difficult, and all I wanted was my mom. Diane held my hand and coached me through it, but it wasn't the same. When they placed Lily on my chest for the first time, I cried for so many reasons: joy at meeting my daughter, relief that the delivery was over, and profound sadness that my parents had chosen to miss this moment. After Lily was born, Nathan and I moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment. It was nothing fancy, but it was our first real home as a family. Nathan continued working and going to school part-time. With Diane helping with childcare, I was able to go back to college part-time too. For the first 3 years of Lily's life, I kept sending my parents updates. Birthday cards, Christmas photos, pictures of Lily's first steps. I never got anything in return. No acknowledgement, no cards for Lily's birthdays, nothing. Eventually, I stopped trying. If they didn't want to be part of our lives, I wouldn't force it. Nathan graduated with his business degree when Lily was 4. He got promoted at work, and we were able to buy a small house in a neighborhood with good schools. I finished my degree in education the following year and got a job teaching 3rd grade at a school near our home. Life settled into a comfortable routine. Lily grew into a bright, curious little girl who loved books as much as I did. She adored Nathan's parents, who spoiled her with attention and love. We spent holidays with Nathan's family, and my aunts and cousins visited when they could. We were happy. Until last week. I'm now 4 months pregnant with our second child. We hadn't told many people yet, but I mentioned it to my cousin Emma during a phone call. Apparently, Emma told her mom, who told my mom. Because last Saturday, while Nathan was mowing the lawn and Lily was playing in the backyard, my parents showed up on our doorstep. I almost didn't recognize them at first. My dad had lost weight and had much more gray in his hair than I remembered. My mom looked older too, with lines around her eyes that weren't there before. They stood awkwardly on the porch, and my mom was holding a gift bag with teddy bear wrapping paper. I couldn't speak. After 6 years of complete silence, they were suddenly at my door. Nathan must have seen them from the backyard because he quickly came inside, still in his grass-stained clothes, and stood beside me. My mom started crying, and my dad asked if they could come in. I was shaking so badly that Nathan had to guide me to the living room sofa. They sat across from us, and my dad did most of the talking. He said they'd made a terrible mistake. They were scared when I got pregnant, worried I was throwing my life away. They thought Nathan would eventually leave me, and I'd be a single mother with no education and no way to support myself. My mom nodded along, adding that they thought being strict would force me to make the right decision. They said they realized their mistake years ago but were too proud to reach out. Finding out about the second pregnancy made them realize they couldn't stay away any longer. My mom handed me the gift bag. Inside was a handmade baby blanket and a small teddy bear. She said she'd been making blankets for years, imagining giving them to grandchildren she'd never met. She asked if they could meet Lily and be part of our lives again. I couldn't answer. 6 years of hurt and abandonment don't disappear with one apology. They weren't there when I needed them most. They missed Lily's birth, her first words, her first steps, her first day of kindergarten. They missed our struggle to make ends meet, the nights I cried from exhaustion, the milestones we celebrated. Now they wanted to waltz back in like nothing happened? Nathan told them I needed time to think. They reluctantly left their phone number and address. They'd moved to a smaller house across town, and said they'd wait for my call. As they were leaving, my mom asked if she could hug me. I let her, but I felt nothing as her arms went around me. She was a stranger. After they left, Nathan held me while I sobbed. Lily, confused by the commotion, asked who the people were. We told her they were old friends, not ready to explain the complicated truth. I've spent the last week in a fog. Nathan says he'll support whatever decision I make but admits he's angry with them for how they treated me. His parents are concerned that letting my parents back in will only lead to more pain. My aunts think I should forgive them and give them another chance, saying people can change. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants Lily and the new baby to know their other grandparents. Another part can't forget being thrown away like garbage when I needed them most. What if they disapprove of something else and disappear again? What if they treat Lily differently from the new baby since they weren't there for her birth? Am I wrong for being hesitant? Should I forgive them and allow them back into our lives? Or should I protect my family from people who abandoned me once already? Update 1 first, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. I read every single comment, and they gave me a lot to think about. Many of you shared similar experiences, and that helped me feel less alone in this situation. After much consideration and many discussions with Nathan, I decided to meet with my parents again, but with clear boundaries. I called them and arranged to meet at a cafe near our house. I specifically asked them not to bring gifts and told them this would be just a conversation between adults. Nathan offered to come with me, but I felt I needed to do this alone. My parents arrived at the cafe before me. They'd chosen a quiet corner table away from other people. My mom stood up to hug me when I approached, but I gestured for her to sit down. I didn't want physical affection to cloud my judgment. The first 15 minutes were awkward. They asked about Lily, about my pregnancy, about my job. I answered their questions briefly but didn't volunteer much information. Then I told them what I decided. If they wanted to be part of our lives, we needed to establish a relationship between just us adults first. No meeting Lily yet, no baby shower invitations, no grandparent role until I knew I could trust them again. My dad's face changed immediately. His friendly expression hardened into something more familiar, the disapproving look I grew up with. He said they'd apologized, and that should be enough. They were Lily's grandparents, and they had a right to see her. My mom reached across the table for my hand, saying they'd already missed so much of Lily's life. I pulled my hand back and reminded them that they were the ones who chose to miss those years. Their rights as grandparents were forfeited the day they kicked me out. I told them we could start with monthly dinners, just the adults, and see how it goes from there. My dad stood up so suddenly his chair scraped loudly against the floor. Several people turned to look at us. He said he wouldn't beg to see his own grandchild. My mom tried to calm him down, but he was already too angry. He accused me of punishing them and being vindictive. When I remained calm and didn't change my position, they both left. My mom looked back once with tears in her eyes, but she followed my dad out of the cafe. I sat there for nearly an hour afterward, drinking cold coffee and processing what had happened. Their reaction told me everything I needed to know. They hadn't changed. They still expected immediate compliance with their wishes, and anything less was unacceptable to them. When I got home, Nathan was waiting anxiously. Lily was at his parents' house for the afternoon, so we had privacy to talk. I told him what happened, and he held me while I processed it all. He didn't say I told you so, just listened and supported me. I thought that was the end of it, but 3 days later, my brother Eric showed up at our door. Eric and I hadn't spoken since the day I left our parents' house. He was always their favorite, following their rules without question and adopting their opinions as his own. He looked different now, more polished in his business suit, but with the same judgmental eyes. Nathan was at work, and Lily was at school. Eric invited himself in before I could stop him. He sat on our couch without being asked and looked around our home with obvious disapproval, though we'd worked hard to make it nice with our limited budget. Eric said he'd come to talk sense into me. Our parents were devastated after our cafe meeting, and I needed to be more understanding. They made one mistake years ago, and I was being unreasonable by not immediately welcoming them back. He reminded me of all they'd done for me growing up, the home they provided, the clothes they bought, the education they paid for, conveniently forgetting they cut that off. When I pointed out that they abandoned me when I was barely an adult and pregnant, he had the audacity to say I'd abandoned them first by getting myself pregnant and choosing the guy over my family. I told him Nathan had a name, and he was my husband and Lily's father. Eric rolled his eyes and said Nathan had trapped me, and our parents had only been trying to save me from ruining my life. That's when I realized Eric didn't just share our parents' opinions, he had helped form them. He had always disliked Nathan, even before the pregnancy. The few times they'd met, Eric had been coldly polite at best. Now I wondered how much he'd influenced our parents' reaction to my pregnancy. I asked Eric to leave. He refused, saying he wouldn't go until I agreed to bring Lily to meet our parents that weekend. When I again refused, he grabbed my wrist and said I was being childish. His grip was tight enough to hurt. I pulled away and told him if he didn't leave immediately, I would call the police. He looked surprised, as if he couldn't believe I would stand up to him. After a tense moment, he left, slamming the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. I called Nathan immediately. He wanted to leave work and come home, but I assured him I was okay. I also called his mom, who came over to stay with me until Nathan got home, bringing dinner with her. That night, after we put Lily to bed, Nathan and I had a long talk. We decided to be proactive rather than reactive. I texted my parents, clearly stating that after Eric's behavior, I was even more convinced that slow, adult-only contact was the only way forward. I told them Eric was not welcome in our home again, and if they couldn't respect my boundaries, they wouldn't be welcome either. My mom texted back almost immediately, defending Eric. She said he was just emotional about family matters and meant no harm. She again pushed for a meeting with Lily present, saying family healing needed to include everyone. I didn't respond. Their inability to respect even this simple boundary confirmed my decision to keep my distance. Nathan suggested changing our phone numbers, but I wasn't ready for that step yet. Part of me still hoped they might eventually understand and respect my terms. The next day, flowers arrived at my school with a card from my parents apologizing for Eric's behavior. The card also included a note saying they had bought tickets to Lily's school play next month, information they must have gotten from my cousin or aunt. I returned the flowers to the florist with a note declining delivery. I called my Aunt Jenny that evening to express my disappointment that someone had shared information about Lily's activities with my parents. She admitted she'd been in regular contact with them over the years and thought she was helping by telling them about the play. I told her I needed her to respect my decisions about my parents' involvement in our lives. She agreed, though I'm not entirely convinced she meant it. For now, I'm focusing on what's important: Nathan, Lily, our coming baby, and our daily life. My parents and Eric have shown me they haven't changed, still expecting compliance rather than earning trust. I'm keeping my distance while processing all that's happened. Nathan's parents continue to be supportive, and that reminds me what real family support looks like. I'll update again if anything significant changes. Update 2: I hoped my last update would be the end of the situation, but apparently, my parents and brother can't take no for an answer. The past month has been a series of escalating attempts to force their way into our lives. A week after Eric's unwelcome visit, packages started arriving for Lily. Dolls, books, art supplies, all addressed to her with cards signed from Grandma and Grandpa. I returned everything unopened. Then came the emails with old family photos attached, texts with remember when stories, and voicemails full of guilt and manipulation. The final straw came 2 weeks ago. I was picking Lily up from school when I spotted my mom in the parking lot, watching from her car. I immediately reported it to the school office, and they assured me they would not release Lily to anyone but Nathan or me. I didn't confront my mom, just quickly got Lily into our car and left. That night, I called my parents and told them in no uncertain terms that their behavior was becoming harassment. My dad dismissed my concerns, saying they just wanted to see their grandchild. Last weekend was Lily's school play. Remember I mentioned they had somehow gotten tickets? Nathan and I arrived early to speak with Lily's teacher and the principal. We explained the situation and asked that they not be allowed in. The school was understanding and had a staff member watch the entrance. My parents showed up as expected. When they were politely turned away, they created a scene. My dad demanded to be let in, saying he had tickets. The principal had to threaten to call security before they finally left. Lily, thankfully, was backstage and unaware of the commotion, but other parents witnessed it. I was mortified. The next day, Eric showed up at Nathan's workplace. Nathan's co-workers, who knew our situation, alerted him before Eric could find him. Nathan met him in the lobby, where Eric handed him an envelope. Inside was a check for a substantial amount of money, supposedly a gift for Lily's education. There was also a note saying my parents would drop their campaign to see Lily if we agreed to family counseling sessions with them. Nathan tore up the check and note in front of Eric and told him to leave. That evening, we received a group text from my mom to our entire extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, even Nathan's parents. It contained a long, dramatically skewed version of events, painting Nathan and me as cruel for keeping Lily from her loving grandparents. She claimed we were denying Lily her heritage and family connections over a misunderstanding that happened years ago. The message ended with a plea for family members to help bring us to our senses. Most relatives didn't respond to the group text. My Aunt Jenny called me privately to apologize for my mom's behavior. She said she tried to discourage my parents from their increasingly desperate tactics, but they wouldn't listen. Nathan's parents blocked my parents' numbers immediately and assured us of their continued support. 2 days later, I was grocery shopping when I ran into my mom's best friend from church. She approached me with sympathy, saying she'd heard about my mental health struggles and how they were affecting my judgment regarding my parents. I was confused until she explained that my mom had told their entire church group I was suffering from postpartum depression and pregnancy-related anxiety that was making me paranoid and keeping my family away. I was furious. Not only had they violated my privacy and boundaries repeatedly, but now they were spreading lies about my mental health to gain sympathy and possibly undermine my credibility. That evening, Nathan and I consulted a lawyer. The lawyer advised us that while my parents' behavior was concerning, it didn't yet rise to the level where a restraining order would definitely be granted. However, he helped us draft a cease and desist letter that formally documented our request for no contact. We sent the letter by certified mail to ensure they received it. The letter clearly stated that any further contact with us, Lily, Nathan's workplace, or Lily's school would result in legal action. We also specified that they were not to discuss us with extended family or acquaintances. 3 days of blessed silence followed the letter. Then yesterday, we received a response, not from my parents, but from a lawyer they'd hired. The letter stated that while they respected our wishes for now, they were exploring their legal rights as grandparents and believed they had grounds for court-ordered visitation based on having established a relationship with Lily before the estrangement. This was a complete fabrication. They had never met Lily. Not once in her 6 years. Nathan immediately called our lawyer, who assured us that in our state, grandparents' rights cases are very difficult to win, especially with no pre-existing relationship. He advised us to gather evidence of their absence from Lily's life, the returned mail from birth announcements, their lack of response to photos and updates over the years, and any other documentation showing they had chosen not to be involved until now. We spent yesterday evening going through old emails, photo albums, and social media posts, creating a timeline of Lily's life and their complete absence from it. I found myself looking at photos of Lily's first Christmas, her first birthday, her first day of preschool, all celebrations they had chosen to miss. The lawyer is confident we have nothing to worry about legally, but the emotional toll is exhausting. I'm 5 months pregnant now, and my doctor has expressed concern about my blood pressure. Nathan is worried too, suggesting we consider moving to a different neighborhood or even a different town to avoid these accidental encounters. For now, we're documenting everything and focusing on keeping our daily routine as normal as possible for Lily's sake. She knows something is wrong but doesn't understand what. She asked why we left her school place so quickly and why Daddy seems angry on the phone lately. We've kept our explanations age appropriate, simply saying that some grown-ups aren't respecting our family's rules right now, and we're dealing with it. Nathan's parents have been incredible through all this, taking Lily for sleepovers when we have meetings with the lawyer and providing a sense of normalcy for her. This situation has made me even more grateful for their unwavering support over the years. I'll update again when there are significant developments. Update 3. This will be my final update on this situation. A lot has happened in the past 3 months, and I'm writing this from our new home in a different city, 120 miles from where we used to live. After my last update, things escalated even further. Despite the cease and desist letter and our lawyer's response to their legal threats, my parents continued their campaign to force their way into our lives. They seemed to take our legal response as a challenge rather than a warning. The breaking point came when Lily's teacher called me at work, alarmed because someone claiming to be Lily's grandmother had tried to pick her up from school. My mom had shown the office staff old family photos of me as a child, claiming they proved her relationship. Thankfully, the school followed protocol and called me immediately. When confronted, my mom caused another scene, resulting in the school having to call security. That same evening, Eric showed up at our house again. This time, Nathan was home. Eric pushed his way inside when I opened the door, nearly knocking me over. Nathan immediately intervened, placing himself between Eric and me. Eric was shouting about the legal letter, saying we were tearing the family apart and being cruel to our parents. When Nathan firmly asked him to leave, Eric took a swing at him. Nathan defended himself, and the situation quickly escalated into a physical altercation. Lily, who had been in her room, came out to see what was happening and witnessed part of the fight. Seeing her uncle and father fighting traumatized her. She burst into tears, and I rushed her back to her room while calling 911. By the time police arrived, Nathan had managed to get Eric outside, but both had minor injuries. We filed a police report and were finally granted an emergency restraining order against Eric. The officer who responded suggested we might want to file for orders against my parents as well, given the escalating pattern of behavior. We followed that advice, and temporary orders were issued until a hearing could be scheduled. During this time, Nathan's company offered him a transfer to their office in a city 2 hours away. We hadn't considered moving that far, but with everything that had happened, it suddenly seemed like our best option. The restraining orders would help in the short term, but living in the same small community meant continued risk of accidental encounters. We made the decision to move quickly and quietly. Nathan accepted the transfer, and we found a house to rent in the new city. We told no one outside of Nathan's parents and my most trusted aunt about our plans. Within 3 weeks, we had packed our essential belongings and moved. Nathan's parents helped with the logistics while keeping our secret. My Aunt Jenny, who I trust completely, agreed to handle the sale of our house through her husband's real estate company. We left forwarding information only with her, the post office, and essential services. We enrolled Lily in a new school and found a new obstetrician for the remainder of my pregnancy. The move was hard on Lily at first. She missed her friends and her school, but children are remarkably adaptable. She's made new friends in our neighborhood and is enjoying her new school. We've been honest with her about why we moved, explaining in age-appropriate terms that sometimes grown-ups don't respect boundaries, and we needed to create space to keep our family safe and happy. 2 weeks after our move, the court hearing for the permanent restraining orders took place. We traveled back for it, leaving Lily with Nathan's parents. The judge granted permanent orders against both Eric and my parents based on the documented pattern of escalating behavior, the police report from the physical altercation, and the school incidents. The orders prohibit them from contacting us through any means or coming within 500 feet of any of us for 1 year, after which we can apply for renewal if needed. Since the move and the restraining orders, we've had no contact from my parents or Eric. My Aunt Jenny reports that they've been telling family members we ran away to punish them and are keeping Lily from her real family. Some relatives believe them, but those who matter know the truth. Our new home is smaller than our old one, but it feels safer. Nathan's commute is shorter, and I've found a part-time teaching position at a school near our house that will start after my maternity leave. Our son, we found out we're having a boy, is due in 6 weeks, and this time, my pregnancy has been remarkably peaceful, despite the upheaval of the move. Nathan's parents visit regularly, making the 2-hour drive every other weekend. They've been helping us prepare the nursery and spending quality time with Lily. My Aunt Jenny and 2 of my cousins have also visited, bringing housewarming gifts and positive energy to our new space. Sometimes I think about what might have been if my parents had truly changed, if they had respected my boundaries and been willing to rebuild trust slowly. But their actions showed their true priorities, controlling the narrative and maintaining their authority rather than healing the relationship. I don't know what the future holds regarding my parents and brother. Perhaps someday, years from now, genuine reconciliation might be possible if they do the hard work of changing. But I'm not counting on it, and I'm no longer waiting for it. My focus is where it should be, on Nathan, Lily, our coming son, and the life we're building together. Thank you to everyone who read my story and offered advice along the way. Your support helped me stand firm in my boundaries and prioritize my family's well-being. This chapter of our lives is closing, and a new, hopefully quieter one is beginning. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. My wife quit her job, cheated on me and tried to blame me for everything. So, I divorced her and did this. Now she wants to come back. I never imagined I'd be sharing my story on Reddit, but here I am. The past year has been a whirlwind of emotions, and I need to get this off my chest. It all began at my elder sister's baby shower. That's where I met Rose, my sister's best friend's distant cousin. She was stunning, with long dark hair and bright green eyes that seemed to light up when she smiled. As we talked, Rose confessed that she'd always had a crush on me. I was taken aback but flattered. We exchanged numbers that day, and soon after, we started texting regularly. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, covering everything from our favorite books to our dreams for the future. After a week of non-stop texting, I finally worked up the courage to ask her out on a date. Our first date was at a quaint coffee shop downtown. I remember being nervous, my palms sweaty as I waited for her to arrive. But the moment she walked in, all my nerves disappeared. She ordered a vanilla latte, and I couldn't help but smile at how adorable she looked with a foam mustache. We talked for hours, losing track of time until the barista politely informed us they were closing. That first date led to many more. We went to art galleries, tried new restaurants, and spent lazy Sundays binge watching our favorite TV shows. One of my favorite memories from our dating days was a spontaneous road trip we took to the coast. Rose suggested it on a Friday evening, and within an hour, we were on the road with nothing but a hastily packed overnight bag. We spent the weekend walking on the beach, trying local seafood, and watching the sunset from a cliff overlooking the ocean. It felt like something out of a movie. Another time, Rose surprised me with tickets to see my favorite band. She wasn't even a fan herself but wanted to share the experience with me. I was touched by her thoughtfulness and how she went out of her way to make me happy. As the months passed, I found myself falling deeply in love with Rose. She was fun, spontaneous, and seemed to bring out the best in me. After a year of dating filled with moments like these, I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. I spent weeks planning the perfect proposal. I wanted it to be memorable, something that would show Rose how much she meant to me. I finally decided to propose during a hot air balloon ride at sunrise. I was a bundle of nerves as we ascended into the sky, the world below us bathed in soft golden light. When we reached the perfect height, with the city spread out beneath us like a miniature model, I got down on one knee, as much as one can in a hot air balloon basket, and asked Rose to marry me. Her eyes filled with tears as she said yes, and in that moment, I felt like the luckiest man in the world. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. Rose looked breathtaking in her white dress, and I couldn't believe that this amazing woman was about to become my wife. As we exchanged vows, I was certain that I had found my happily ever after. However, cracks in our relationship started to show soon after the honeymoon. I've always been conservative with money, planning for the future and hoping for an early retirement. Rose, on the other hand, was a big spender. She'd shop for new clothes every week, insist on eating out at expensive restaurants, and seemed to have a new hobby, and all the expensive equipment that came with it, every month. At first, I didn't think much of it. I chalked it up to post-wedding excitement and figured things would settle down once we got into the rhythm of married life. But as the weeks turned into months, Rose's spending habits didn't change. If anything, they got worse. Things got more complicated when Rose told me she wanted to quit her job. We were having dinner one night when she casually mentioned that she was thinking about leaving her position at the marketing firm where she worked. I was taken aback. We had discussed our future plans before marriage, and both agreed that we'd continue working to build a secure future. I tried to reason with her, explaining how her income was crucial for our financial goals. "But don't you want me to be happy?" she asked, her eyes welling up with tears. I felt like I was being manipulated, but I didn't want to upset her further. I suggested we revisit the conversation in a few months, hoping she might change her mind. But Rose didn't drop the subject. Every few days, she'd bring up quitting her job again. She started talking about wanting to try for children, saying she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I wasn't ready for kids yet. We had only been married for a few months, and I wanted us to be more financially stable before taking on the responsibility of parenthood. This led to several arguments, with Rose accusing me of not caring about her desires and me feeling like she was disregarding our mutual plans. The warm, loving relationship we had enjoyed while dating seemed to be slipping away, replaced by tension and resentment. A few months into our marriage, I noticed Rose wasn't going to work some days. At first, she said she was taking sick leave. I was concerned and asked if everything was okay, but she assured me it was just a bit of a flu going around the office. However, when I casually mentioned it to one of her coworkers at a party, I was shocked to learn that Rose had quit her job weeks ago. I confronted Rose about it that night. "Why didn't you discuss this with me?" I asked, feeling betrayed and confused. Rose got emotional. "I want a baby," she cried. "I'm at my prime for having children. Why can't you understand that?" I was stunned. Not only had Rose quit her job without telling me, but she was also pushing the baby issue again. I tried to explain that I wasn't against having children, I just wanted us to be in a better financial position first. But Rose wouldn't listen. She accused me of being selfish and not considering her feelings. To make matters worse, Rose's mother started calling me regularly, pressuring me to support Rose's decision. It felt like I was being ganged up on by my own family. Rose's mother would guilt-trip me, saying things like, "Don't you want my daughter to be happy? And you're crushing her dreams of being a mother." I felt cornered and misunderstood. As if the job situation wasn't stressful enough, I also noticed that Rose's spending had increased dramatically. She joined expensive yoga classes, went on shopping sprees, and seemed to be withdrawing large amounts from our joint account without discussing it with me. One day, I noticed a particularly large withdrawal from our account. When I asked Rose about it, she claimed her mother needed money urgently. I was angry that she hadn't discussed it with me first. It was our joint account, after all. This led to another argument, with Rose accusing me of not trusting her and me feeling like she was taking advantage of our shared finances. Feeling like I was losing control of our finances, I made a decision that I'm not proud of. I opened a separate account and started saving my money there. To justify the reduced deposits into our joint account, I told Rose that many employees at my company, including me, had received pay cuts due to the company's financial struggles. It was a lie, and I felt guilty about it, but I felt like I had no other choice to protect our financial future. Despite these issues, I still loved Rose and wanted to make our marriage work. I suggested we go to couples counseling, but Rose refused, saying we didn't need a stranger telling us how to fix our marriage. I felt helpless and increasingly isolated. Then came the day that shattered my world completely. My close friend, John, whose wife attended the same yoga class as Rose, pulled me aside at a party. He looked uncomfortable and avoided my eyes as he spoke. "I don't know how to tell you this," he said, "but I think Rose is cheating on you with her yoga instructor." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. At first, I didn't want to believe it. Rose, who had pursued me, who had seemed so in love with me, cheating? It seemed impossible. But as John shared more details, the lingering touches, the private sessions after class, the way they looked at each other, a sick feeling grew in my stomach. I didn't confront Rose immediately. Instead, I started paying more attention, noticing things I'd overlooked before. The late-night texts she'd quickly hide when I entered the room. The sudden increase in girls' nights out that always seemed to coincide with her yoga instructor's day off. The new lingerie I found in her drawer that she had never worn for me. One night, when Rose was in the shower, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked her phone. What I found made me feel sick. There were dozens of explicit messages between her and the yoga instructor, dating back months. There were even plans for a weekend getaway, conveniently scheduled for when I was supposed to be on a business trip. I didn't stop there. I accessed her Google Drive and found a folder full of intimate photos and videos of her with the yoga instructor. It was like a knife twisting in my chest. Each image, each video was another blow to my heart and to the trust I had in our marriage. I spent the next few days in a daze, trying to process what I had discovered. I went through a range of emotions: anger, hurt, disbelief, and a deep, overwhelming sadness. The woman I had loved, the woman I had married, had betrayed me in the worst possible way. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to confront her. I waited until we were both home one evening. Rose was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone with a small smile on her face. I wondered if she was texting him right then. "Rose," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "We need to talk." She looked up, her expression changing from contentment to concern when she saw my face. "What's wrong?" she asked. I took a deep breath. "I know about the affair," I said quietly. Rose's face went pale. For a moment, she just stared at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Then, she tried to deny it. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice high and panicky. "There's no affair. How could you even think that?" But I wasn't going to let her lie her way out of this. I told her about the messages I had seen, the photos and videos I had found. With each piece of evidence I mentioned, I saw her crumble a little more. Finally, when I had laid it all out, Rose broke down. She started sobbing, admitting to the affair. But then, to my disbelief, she tried to blame me. "It's because you never give me any attention," she cried. "You won't let me be a mother. You're always working or worried about money." He made me feel wanted, appreciated. I was beyond angry. I felt betrayed, used, and utterly foolish. All those times I'd been working late to secure our future, she'd been in another man's arms. All those expensive yoga classes I'd paid for, thinking I was supporting her health and happiness, had been facilitating her affair. "Get out," I told her, my voice shaking with anger and hurt. "Pack your bags and leave. Now." Rose tried to argue, to explain, to beg for another chance. But I was done listening. I watched in stony silence as she packed her bags, tears streaming down her face. As she reached the door, she turned back one last time. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never meant for this to happen." I didn't respond. I simply closed the door behind her, slid down to the floor, and let my own tears fall. The days that followed were a blur. I called in sick to work, unable to face the world. I alternated between crying and feeling numb. I kept replaying moments from our relationship in my head, wondering if there were signs I had missed, clues that could have prepared me for this betrayal. My family and friends rallied around me. My sister, the one whose baby shower was where I first met Rose, was particularly supportive. She spent hours on the phone with me, letting me vent and cry when I needed to. John and his wife brought over meals and offered to help with anything I needed. As the initial shock wore off, I started to feel angry. Angry at Rose for betraying me, angry at myself for not seeing it sooner, angry at the yoga instructor for pursuing a married woman. I wanted to confront him, to punch him in the face, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I channeled my anger into action. I started researching divorce lawyers, determined to protect myself and my assets. I gathered all the evidence I had of Rose's infidelity, knowing it would be crucial in the divorce proceedings. Now, as I sit here typing this, I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. The woman I loved, the future I'd planned, it's all gone. I feel angry, hurt, and incredibly stupid. How did I not see the signs? How could I have been so blind? I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing for certain: I deserve better than this. I deserve someone who respects me, who shares my values, and who wouldn't betray me like this. If you've read this far, thank you for listening to my story. Any advice or words of support would be greatly appreciated. I'm not sure where to go from here, but I know I need to start picking up the pieces of my life. Update: it's been a week since Rose moved out of our rented house, and what a week it's been. The past 7 days have been a whirlwind of emotions and activities, and I feel like I've aged years in just a week. First, let me talk about the constant barrage of threats I've been receiving from my in-laws. They've been calling me non-stop, leaving angry voicemails, and even sending threatening text messages. At first, they were just demanding that I take Rose back, saying I was overreacting to a small mistake. But as the days passed and it became clear I wasn't going to change my mind, their messages became more aggressive. Rose's father threatened to ruin my career if I didn't reconcile with his daughter. Her mother alternated between guilt-tripping me and hurling insults. Even Rose's siblings got in on the act, sending me long, rambling messages about how I was tearing their family apart. It's been overwhelming, to say the least. There were moments when I considered changing my phone number just to get some peace. But I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of knowing they'd gotten to me. Instead of dwelling on their threats, I've been focusing my energy on preparing a strong legal case against Rose. The day after she left, I started researching divorce lawyers in my area. I wanted someone who specialized in cases involving infidelity, someone who would fight for my rights and ensure I didn't get taken advantage of in the divorce proceedings. After a few consultations, I found a lawyer I felt comfortable with. Her name is Sarah, and she has a reputation for being a tough, no-nonsense attorney. When I told her my story and showed her the evidence I had gathered, she assured me we had a strong case. We've been working tirelessly to gather all the evidence and build a solid case. Sarah advised me to keep a record of all the harassing messages from Rose's family, as they could potentially be used to file a restraining order if necessary. She also helped me secure my financial accounts and advised me on how to handle shared assets. Yesterday, we officially filed for divorce, citing infidelity charges against Rose. It felt surreal signing those papers, seeing our names typed out in cold, legal language. But it also felt like a step forward, a way of taking control of the situation. The divorce proceedings moved faster than I expected. Maybe it was because the evidence was so clear-cut, or maybe Rose didn't put up much of a fight. Either way, the judge ruled in my favor. The divorce was granted, and as Sarah had predicted, I didn't have to pay a cent in alimony to Rose. When the judge announced his decision, I felt a mix of emotions. Relief that it was over, sadness that my marriage had come to this, and a strange sense of emptiness. I had been so focused on getting through the divorce that I hadn't really thought about what would come after. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Unfortunately, my in-laws didn't see it that way. Even after I won the case, they continued to harass me over the phone. They called me every name in the book, accused me of ruining their daughter's life, and threatened to make my life miserable. I tried to reason with them at first, explaining that it was Rose who had cheated, not me. But they wouldn't listen. They were convinced that I was the villain in this story. Rose's mother even showed up at my workplace one day, causing a scene in the lobby until security escorted her out. Eventually, I realized that there was no point in trying to change their minds. They were going to believe what they wanted to believe, regardless of the facts. So, I made the decision to block all of their numbers. It was a relief when the constant barrage of calls and messages finally stopped. Throughout this whole ordeal, my family has been my rock. They supported me from the moment I told them about Rose's infidelity. My sister, the one whose baby shower was where I first met Rose, was particularly supportive. She spent hours on the phone with me, letting me vent and cry when I needed to. She even offered to let me stay with her for a while if I needed a change of scenery. My friends have been great too. John and his wife, who initially informed me about Rose's affair, have been incredibly supportive. They've invited me over for dinner multiple times, making sure I'm not isolating myself. Other friends have stepped up too, offering to help me move, listening to me when I need to talk, and even setting me up with some casual dates to help me get back out there, though I'm not sure I'm ready for that yet. As the months passed, I slowly started to heal. I threw myself into my work, earning praise from my boss for my increased productivity. I picked up some new hobbies to keep myself busy. I started going to the gym regularly, finding that physical exercise helped clear my mind and improve my mood. I even started taking a cooking class, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the time for when I was married. Perhaps most importantly, I started going to therapy to process everything that had happened. My therapist has been helping me work through my feelings of betrayal and anger, and teaching me how to trust again. It's been a slow process, but I can feel myself getting stronger and more confident with each session. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I made a big decision. I had been saving up for years, originally planning to buy a house for Rose and me to start our family in. Now, I decided to use that money to buy a house just for myself. It felt like a big step forward, a way of reclaiming my life and my future. The day I got the keys to my new house, I felt a sense of pride and accomplishment I hadn't felt in a long time. It wasn't a huge place, but it was mine. I spent weeks painting and decorating, turning it into a space that reflected who I am now. I decided to throw a small housewarming party to celebrate. As I was showing my family and friends around, I mentioned offhandedly that I had originally intended to buy this house for Rose and me. It was a bittersweet moment, acknowledging how much my life had changed, but also realizing how far I'd come. I didn't think much of that comment at the time, but apparently, word got back to Rose. A few days after the party, I received a call from an unknown number. When I answered, I was shocked to hear Rose's voice on the other end. She started crying almost immediately, telling me how much she missed me and how sorry she was for everything she had done. She begged me to give her another chance, saying she had made a terrible mistake and that she still loved me. I listened in silence, feeling a mix of emotions. Part of me was angry that she had the audacity to call me after everything she had done. Another part felt a twinge of the old feelings I had for her. But mostly, I felt pity. Pity for the woman who had thrown away our marriage for a fling with a yoga instructor. When she finally paused for breath, I spoke. I told her that I had given her plenty of chances during our marriage. I reminded her of how I had supported her, tried to build a future with her, only to have her betray me in the worst way possible. I told her about the pain I had gone through, the therapy sessions, the sleepless nights. I'm not going to lie, it wasn't easy to say what I said next. But I knew it was necessary. I told Rose not to contact me again. I told her that we were over, not just as a couple, but in every way. I wished her well, but made it clear that she was no longer a part of my life. Before she could respond, I ended the call and blocked the number. It felt like closing the final chapter on that part of my life. As I sit in my new house, writing this update, I feel a sense of peace I haven't felt in a long time. The past year has been incredibly difficult, but I've come out stronger on the other side. I'm proud of myself for standing up for what I believe in, for not letting Rose or her family bully me into submission. I've learned a lot about myself through this process. I've learned that I'm stronger than I ever thought possible. I've learned the importance of self-respect and setting boundaries. And I've learned that it's okay to put myself first sometimes. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to find out. I'm focusing on myself, my career, and my happiness. And who knows? Maybe someday I'll meet someone who shares my values and dreams. But for now, I'm content being on my own, healing and growing. To anyone out there going through something similar, I want you to know that it does get better. It's not easy, and there will be days when you feel like you can't go on. But you can, and you will. Surround yourself with people who support you, seek professional help if you need it, and most importantly, be kind to yourself. Thank you to everyone who read my original post and offered support and advice. Your kind words meant more to me than you could know. Here's to new beginnings and brighter tomorrows.